The O's take on the Rays, 12:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Tampa Bay Rays are minus 205 with the total at 8.5 runs. Michael Wacha is the expected starter for Tampa. Keegan Aiken for Baltimore. Now, we went 5-1 in our 6 premium sports picks on my Patreon website yesterday. And that's going to put us at 2-0 in our last 2 underdog tier package picks on that page. Now, the good news is we have another underdog tier package pick going off here this evening. And if you want to access today's underdog tier package pick, it's only going to cost you just $4.99. We're also hitting at 67% our last dozen underdog tier package picks in that very same category. We currently have over 925 folks who are signed up and active on that Patreon site. And if you want to see which one of these free picks on my YouTube channel that I'm actually betting on personally, a link for that site is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, Baltimore's Keegan Aiken, he's yet to record a victory this season. He's 0-5 with an 8.19 ERA and a 1.80 whip. The last place O's have the fewest wins in the American League, and they're currently 32 games below 500. The O's have also struggled on the road this year. They've gotten the W in just 18 out of 51 road games. And that's good for only 35% in that particular category. Baltimore's in the bottom 3 in runs allowed, bottom 3 in hits allowed. They're taking on a Rays club who's just 1 game out of first place in the division. And speaking of the division, the Rays are currently 25-15 straight up in their divisional contests. They're also winning 60% of their home games against the AL East as well. The Tampa lineup's in the top 10 in scoring on average per game. And they're led by Brandon Lau, who's hit 21 homers and knocked in 48. Meanwhile, Austin Meadows has 63 ribbies thus far in the year himself. He's in the top 15 in that category. But it's not just all offense for the Rays. Their pitching staff is in the top 3 in the majors in fewest hits allowed at home. They're also giving up only 3.2 runs a game at the Trop. Michael Wacha struck out 55 batters in just over 61 innings of work. When it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of Tampa's last 7 home games stayed under the number. Tampa's officially 60% to the under in their divisional games at home. Meanwhile, the Orioles have gone 60% to the under in their divisional games when traveling themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays minus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Padres versus the Braves, game 1. And that's going to be a 12:20 p.m. Eastern start time in the first of a doubleheader here today. The San Diego Padres are minus 165 in game 1, number 7.5. Chris Paddock for San Diego. No confirmed starter yet for Atlanta. But regardless of who gets the ball for the Braves, they've gotten the W in 5 out of their last 8 ball games, and they still have a winning record at Truist Park. This Braves lineup is in the top 10 in home scoring, top 10 in home hits. Ozzie Albies is in the top 15 in the majors in runs batted in. The second baseman has driven in 63 runners thus far in the year. Meanwhile, Freddie Freeman's hit 22 home runs and knocked in 55. They're taking on a Padres club who lost 4 out of their last 6. And they currently have a losing record on the road. Even worse than that, the Pods have gotten the W in only 17 out of 38 road games against National League opponents. And as good as this Padres rotation is, San Diego's in the bottom half of the league in walks given up away from home. Chris Paddock's just 5-6 on the season with a 5.49 ERA and a 1.34 whip. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Braves plus 1.5 and the under 7.5 runs in game 1. Next contest, Mets versus the Reds, 12:35 East. The New York Mets are minus 140 with the total at 10.5, juice to the over. Marcus Stroman for New York, Jeff Hoffman for Cincinnati. Now, Hoffman is averaging nearly a strikeout an inning this year. The Reds are currently 3 games above 500. They've got themselves a winning record, and they're also in the top 5 in home scoring. Nick Castellanos, he's second in the majors in batting average, The outfielder is hitting .329 with an OPS of .965, which is also in the top 10 as well. Jesse Winker's also hit 19 homers and knocked in 52. Now, the Reds are taking on a Mets club who plays their worst baseball on the road. New York's gotten the W in only 21 out of 50 road games, and they're in the bottom 3 in scoring per contest. This Mets lineup is also being held to under 7.4 hits a game. Marcus Stroman takes the mound here this afternoon. Just a 6-8 record overall for the entire season. When it comes to the total on this one, the Mets went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games, 30-20 to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, the Reds saw 4 out of their last 5 home games get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Cincinnati Reds plus 1.5 and the over 10.5 runs. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for part 1. It is going to be Royals versus the Brewers, 2:10 p.m. East. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 180, numbers 9. Eric Lauer for Milwaukee, Brad Keller for Kansas City. Now, Keller's just 6-9 on this season, .597 ERA and a 1.76 whip. The Royals have lost 7 out of their last 10 ball games, and they play their worst baseball on the road. Kansas City's gotten the W in just 16 out of 47 away games. This Royals lineup scores only 3.5 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a first-place Milwaukee club who's 16 games over 500, and they lead the majors in striking batters out. This Milwaukee pitching staff also leads the majors in fewest hits allowed per game. They're giving up only 3.7 runs per contest for the entire year as well. Eric Lauer comes into today's start with 54 strikeouts and a .383 ERA. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Milwaukee's last 5 straight home games all stayed under the line. Meanwhile, Kansas City's 27-20 to the under when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 180 and the under 9 runs. Of that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Tampa Bay minus 1.5, under 8.5. Atlanta plus 1.5, under 7.5 in game 1 of the doubleheader. I like Cincinnati plus 1.5, over 10.5 runs. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 2-0 in our last couple of underdog tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also hitting at 67%. In our last dozen underdog tier package picks in that very same category. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 180 and the under 9 runs. Of that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And of course, today's shout out comes from YouTube, and it's from Joe Thibault, who says, and I quote, "Brock, you are good and humble, and you don't take yourself too seriously," end quote. And of course, Joe, I appreciate the compliment. I said it the other day, I'm always of the mindset that there's somebody out there that's better than me. They're producing better content. They're waking up earlier. They're getting better stats. So that kind of is what drives me and keeps me grounded, keeps me rooted. I certainly do not, get comfortable in thinking I'm the best out there. I'm always of the mindset that there's folks out there that are better, they're doing a better job, and it's my job to try to keep up with them and do my best to surpass them. And of course, you said you don't take yourself too seriously. I'll tell you what, times when I get myself in the most trouble is when I do take myself too seriously. So you're right, you can't take yourself too seriously, although there is a thin line between not taking yourself, seriously and people disrespecting you and treating you as a joke. So it's kind of a thin line there. You got to be able to decipher whether people are just busting your stones, messing around with you, or when they cross the line and they just have no respect for you. But you're absolutely right. I agree with you. I don't take myself too seriously, and I find that is it's a much easier way to enjoy life when you don't take yourself too seriously. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my Patreon website, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a package here today, You're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of July. And if you continue to opt in, you're going to get billed again on August 1st. And you'll get access to that content all the way through the end of August as well. I always tell folks the earlier in the month you sign up for a membership, the better. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Be on the lookout for part 2 coming later today in a couple of hours. But once again, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.